Hello and welcome to Finger Thinking, a channel dedicated to analog productivity and creativity tools. Today we are going to do part 2 of the Princess 300 inspection and troubleshooting video. Now in part 1, which in case you missed it I'll link up here, we had a look at the overall machine. We discovered a few gremlins. We fixed the carriage return lever, which was just floppy and hanging down. We did a bit of a test of the keys. They were pretty sticky, they weren't great, so we'll fix those in this video. We discovered that the margins don't work, so that will probably be in part 3, depending on how long part 2 takes. And it may be that as we go through we discover even more gremlins in this machine. So sit tight and we will jump straight into having a look at the type basket, the type bars, and seeing how we get all of the keys moving again. Okay. So look, the logical next step for this is to take the base off and give it a flush. I need to take the base off because even though I just used alcohol, which is a lot less, it's a lot gentler than some of the other kind of solvents and spirits that you can use, I don't want to get a lot of alcohol sitting on this base because it's a pretty nice base, and because it's not metal, it's some sort of weird kind of plasticky molded fake pebble leather finish. Yeah, I don't want to damage that. So let's pull this apart. Okay, so I've not pulled one of these apart before, but just looking at the bottom, these aren't screws. So these are just little, I don't know, some sort of kind of like lug things. I don't really understand why those ones are pushed in, and so the two at the back are pushed in and the two at the front aren't. So let's take this back plate off anyway, and which is already missing the 2 side screws, and then see what we find. So sorry, it's a bit hard to angle the typewriter, but I'm just pulling out 1, 2, 3, 4 screws because there is a screw that goes here, but like the ones on that front section, it's missing, or they're missing. Well, this is a bit of a weird one. So I've taken these 2 screws out, but it looks like this plate here, it kind of hooks in here. So it's like that you're not supposed to take this plate out, or you can't take that plate out until you've got the typewriter off the lugs, and I'm sure you'd have to be able to get them off these bottom feet. So let's have a go. Okay, well, that seems, oh wow, gee, that was so easy. Huh, who knew? Rightio. It wasn't anchored down at all. It just sits over those 2 lugs there, and then here we go. Now I can take that plate out of the back, which sits down here. All right. Yeah, always interesting to see what's in the bottom of other people's typewriters. This one has sand, which, considering I think I said earlier, it came from a place that was across the road from the beach. That's not a surprise, but still, how do you get sand in your typewriter? Anyway. So one of the things, whenever you take something out of the base, don't suddenly start panicking that it doesn't work, because the base has certain points where it holds it up, and as soon as you, especially if you sit it on a towel or something, you're going to get some interference. So when I put this down here, it's like, oh no, I've broken it. I haven't broken it at all. It's just interfering with the towel. So as soon as I lift it up, it's okay. All right. Okay, so this is the bottom of a Princess 300. So they have they're very nicely given whoever wants to play with these and fix them really easy access to just about all of this. So, but yeah, so this is good. This looks a little rusty in here, but that's probably not a problem. So I don't, the escapement, if you can see that on camera, as soon as my hand's out of the way and the carriage can advance, we can see that this does, the escapement wheel does rotate. The plate moves up and down. This all seems to work really well. When it is just binding on my hand at the moment. So I'm pretty happy about that. It means that I can kind of blast some of this just crud out from the bottom. There's still a little bit of just, I don't know, particulate that is collected. So I will give that a bit of a blast now. Oh, the other thing to be careful of is when you're turning things over like this, so all the keys have come up. So I just need to be careful that when I'm turning this over, I don't inadvertently kind of damage the keys or bend any of these type bars. So let's just rest it on its back and blow it out. Okay. I'm really happy that that just sits on the base, so it means that when I want to go back and kind of put it on the base to test it, it's really easy. And so I did a video with a letterer 22 the other day, and every time I wanted to test it that typed, I had to put the base back on, and it was just a pain in the bum. All right, I think this is time for an alcohol clean. Yeah, look, just whilst I'm at it, it's a bit interesting. So some of the marks on these keys, they have this kind of like dark colouring on them, and I don't understand. I don't really understand where you get that sort of discoloration on the end, because these keys don't rub on anything. So unless you've been typing with really dirty fingers, then that build-up I wouldn't expect to be there, because it's certainly the sides of these sides of the keys seem to be dirtier than the tops of the keys were. So anyway, I'm wondering if I've just figured out why these have funny marks on them. So this little bit of pink here, I'm wondering if this actually had typing caps on this machine. There's a little bit of pink on this key, which, goodness, it could be nail polish, it could not be. Either way, I do believe this model was used as a typing kind of, you get the caps for the keys and use it as a typer, like a touch typing trainer. Just going to check something. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. There is a listing for a machine that has the caps on it. At the moment, I just wanted to check that. So, and that would make a lot of sense. So if you have key caps over the top, which are just to blank them all out, they're generally color coded. I'll stick a photo up in the corner. I'll find one online. And that would be why there's rubbing on these sides, because the key caps would rub if you put them on and off. All right, mystery solved. It also means that there's a good chance that no matter how much time I spend rubbing on the side, I'm not going to remove those marks. So can't win, don't try. I'm not going to waste time on that. Okay, so this syringe has some isopropyl alcohol in it, and I'll just use that to flush down in this section, and then I'll give it a scrub with a toothbrush. Alright, so this whole linkage, when if you push, this just doesn't want to return at all, and everything, I can lift this key back up manually without this coming down. So there's maybe some underside work that I need to do, but whilst I have the machine this side up, I'm just going to continue with giving the keys a bit of a scrub. Okay, so one of the things, I'm resting this on my arm so I don't kind of damage or bend things. One of the things I'm trying to do is this, I think it was the scent, at key. This sticky key that just won't move. So I want to see if I can just, just want to have a little bit of a look at the linkage. This one, it's just not right. So if I set this up a little bit again, so it moves it. That just doesn't feel good. But there's no trick to putting this back on the base. You just push it up towards this little bar here, and then push it down just on the plate on the inside of the space bar. What is it? So it's not this part of the linkage, it's this. So something with the actual, and so that works fine, which means it's this key. Something about this end of it, it's binding. All right, so now I'm going to take it back off the base and have another look. Now I know where in the linkage I'm going to be looking. Okay, so now that we know that it's an issue with this key here, we can see when we push that down, there's a little kind of plate that comes down through here, which is connected to this spring. If we push down, what's next to it? No. All right, so if you push down the key next to it, that's what happens. So this kind of bar along here, we've got the underside of the keys. I actually don't know what this bit's called, but these little bars are, I think they're actually single units that kind of are this weird dog leg shape. And then, so that's all connected. And then so I think that's just, and then, so it's pulled on the spring, then the spring is connected to the rest of the linkage, which goes down here. Now, what I think is happening is it's quite possibly just binding on this underside, if that's the issue, because there seems to be some oxidization. Now, the reason I say that is you can see the base of these keys. You can see the base of these are quite white, and so that's generally, and I can scratch off this kind of whiteness, so that suggests that these have oxidized, like this one, yeah, definitely. So I don't know, are these perhaps made out of aluminium, because this is that's what happens to aluminium, it oxidizes just like that, but it can be harder to remove. So maybe I just need to do a little bit more scrubbing down this end of the machine. So we'll see what we can get done before we resort to lubing it up. All right, so I am going to try an alcohol flush just along here. So I'll flush this with alcohol and then I'll try pushing the keys and see if it makes any difference. All right, so I think the alcohol has just made it even worse. So I'm going to cave. I'm going to lube up the underside of this machine. Okay, so I just blew that out because I wanted the alcohol dry. Because if I have the alcohol in there, then I put sewing machine oil in there, which is what I use to lube these up, then all that's going to happen is the alcohol is going to cancel out the oil and it would be a waste of time. Whilst I'm at it, I may as well put some oil in here because I was going to do it anyway. Okay, so I'm not having a whole lot of success with getting this bit here loosened up. So maybe it's not just this bit, maybe it is also this little bit under here. So this section, yeah, so I'm going to try and scrub just in this kind of front section. So I've done this bit down here, and now I'm going to try and scrub in here and clean in there and kind of right under the keys as well. So it's a bit hard to get that angle on camera, but just like right up in here. So I might not be able to capture that all on camera. So I just thought I'd explain to you what I will be doing. Okay, so something that might sound a little bit ridiculous is when you've got a machine that hasn't been used for a while and everything's just kind of seized up. So I've got it back in the base, and what I find is being quite ridiculously pronounced will do a better job of kind of loosening up the mechanism than just going tap, 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 tap. So this 5, okay, it didn't move at all at the beginning of the video, but So if I do it, whoops. Seriously, dog, be quiet. All right. I gave the dog a schmacko and now she thinks she's on a racetrack. Anyway, so by doing this, it's loosening up. So I think I just need to sit here for a good long period of time and do exactly that. Just smack keys until they're all loose. And certainly that's I've had success with that approach on other machines over the years. So that's what I will do. And so we've just done that with the 7. Look at how that's loosened up. It's crazy. It's just wearing that oxidation off on the back. I just have, what are these, 44 keys or something to try that on. So let's keep going. Okay, so this has been the most troublesome key, this @cent key. And it's going to require the most attention, but I've got the key coming back halfway now. So this might take another half a page of typing, and I'll work through them. And this might also take a couple of days to continue working this, because I'll go to bed soon because it's really late. And then I'll get up in the morning and I'll continue doing this, and things might kind of seize up a little bit more overnight, but then you can loose them again, and just with more use it'll all come back. Okay, so I've spent several hours, and yes I mean several hours, sitting here hitting keys trying to loosen up the linkages all the way through, and I've had a substantial amount of success. So you might be able to see that the keys are sitting a lot flatter than they were previously, and so we'll just go through and do a quick kind of just typing test for each of them. It's not 100%, it's probably about 95–96%. There are still some keys that are a little bit more trouble than others. This one over here, it works now, but it doesn't automatically seat. So at least the rest of them, after a few uses, automatically seat. So, again, sorry, dog's making noise in the background. So and what will probably happen is if I don't use this machine for a long period of time, it is going to seize up again. But where I did the alcohol flush underneath and then oiled it, I did do that twice, just to get it loose. So I did an alcohol flush, then I oiled underneath, and then I type, then I alcohol flush, then I oiled underneath, then I type. And when I say type, that wasn't actually that. It was they're just hitting the same key over and over and over again until it started moving freer. So we just have a look at where we were. On the video you should have seen where we were a few minutes ago, whereas this is now kind of almost a day ago for me. But so we can see so the 8's still a little bit stiff, and what happens is that loosens up after I start using it. But that's something that I'm going to have to keep working on. But you can see the improvement that it's made. So at least all of them, the carriage traverse, the escapement moves for every key, so that's really good. So I think you can see that that is so much better than it was. It's just terrific. And the other thing that seems to have disappeared just through turning the typewriter up and down so many times is that little kind of binding issue that we had in the middle. That's gone now. What I'm going to do now, so that's just going to kind of, so it's not perfect, but that should be enough for you to, if you've got this issue on any of your machines, and particularly if they've got that big kind of machined block, basically, that the bars under the keys are sitting in, because not all machines have them like that. For example, the Olivetti's are very different. So if they've got that really tight kind of interference fit with the key bars, then that's what you need to do. So that should be a helpful fix, time consuming, but simple for a number of machines. Okay, so that's the end of part 2. So we've managed to get the typewriter so that all of the keys move. The platen is working, the carriage is working. It's not completely perfect. A couple of these keys aren't seating properly every time just yet, but you have to agree that it's like we're at 98%. It's almost done. You're almost at a point where you can type on this machine freely and it'll be nice and snappy. Okay, so in the next video we will look at the margins and we will look at the bell. So it's kind of become apparent that the bell doesn't work either, so we'll fix kind of that end of the machine and see what else we discover in the process. So thank you very much for joining me here today at Finger Thinking. I hope you've enjoyed and learned something from this video. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next part and in future videos. Have a great day.